She arrived on a bicycle for her interview, while everyone else ignored her. The millionaire watched her with curiosity. She was different, and something inside him felt that this young woman had a deep story to tell. When she finally stopped at his table, he leaned in and said, "You don't seem to belong here, but I want to know why." Little did he know that this young waitress, with her eyes full of determination, would change his life forever. Madison Warren adjusted her hastily ironed uniform for the 10th time as she locked her bicycle outside the Golden Crown. The restaurant's gold-trimmed entrance loomed before her, a portal into a world she'd spent 3 years preparing to infiltrate. Her weathered messenger bag held her credentials: a degree in forensic accounting and the determination to clear her father's name. "You got this," she whispered, tucking a wind-blown strand of hair behind her ear. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across marble floors. Men in tailored suits and women dripping in jewelry occupied tables where single meals cost more than Madison's weekly groceries. She felt the stares, quick dismissive glances that categorized her as part of the scenery, another nameless server to accommodate their desires. "Warren, you're late." Marcus, the floor manager, approached with a clipboard and thinly veiled disdain. Orientation was scheduled for 4:00 p.m. Madison checked her watch. "It's 3:58. In this establishment, on time means 15 minutes early." He thrust a stack of menus into her arms. "Memorize these before your shift begins. The Griffin party arrives at 6. Her heart skipped. "The Griffins, as in Griffin Enterprises." Marcus narrowed his eyes. "Yes, they're our most valued clients. They take the private room every Thursday." He leaned closer, his cologne overwhelming. "Do not disappoint." As Marcus walked away, Madison allowed herself a small victory smile. 3 years of night classes, investigating financial records, and building her case, all leading to this moment. The Griffin family would be feet away from her tonight. Often her 5 hours earlier, in the penthouse office of Griffin Tower, Damian Griffin stared at the skyline of Chicago through floor-to-ceiling windows. At 38, the press called him the Steel Emperor, a moniker he neither encouraged nor disputed. The nickname reflected the cold efficiency with which he conducted business, a necessity in a world where sentiment led to vulnerability. "Mr. Griffin," his assistant hovered at the door. "The contracts for the Wagner merger are ready for review." Damian nodded without turning. "Leave them on my desk." When the door closed, he moved to his desk and opened the bottom drawer, where a newspaper clipping yellowed with age lay hidden beneath folders. The headline read, "Griffin Enterprises CFO takes own life amid fraud allegations." Robert Warren's face stared back at him, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. The man had been a mentor to Damian, someone who'd shown rare kindness to the awkward heir during his training in the company. The official story, embezzlement, shame, suicide, had never sat right with him. His intercom buzzed. "Your grandmother is on line 1. Damian sighed and picked up. "Grandmother. Damian." Eleanor Griffin's voice commanded respect even at 78. "You're attending dinner tonight at the Golden Crown." It wasn't a question. "I have the Wagner contracts to review. Olivia will be there. The merger needs this personal touch." Her tone left no room for argument. "The board expects this marriage to proceed without delays." Marriage. The word felt foreign in relation to Olivia Wagner. Their engagement was corporate strategy wrapped in diamond and platinum. "As you wish, grandmother." After hanging up, Damian returned to the newspaper clipping. 5 years since Warren's death, and still, the nightmares persisted. Warren's body slumped over his desk. The suicide note Damian never quite believed was genuine. He slipped the clipping back into its hiding place and closed the drawer. One thawam at her modest apartment across town, Judith Warren watched her daughter prepare for her first day with a mixture of pride and terror. "You should be focusing on your master's thesis, not waiting tables," she said, adjusting Madison's collar. "It's the perfect cover." Madison avoided her mother's eyes. "The Griffins dine there regularly. It's our best chance to find proof." Judith's hand trembled. "Your father wouldn't want this." "My father was framed." Madison's voice hardened. "He would never embezzle funds, and he would never take his own life. Someone at Griffin Enterprises set him up, and I'm going to prove it." Judith turned away, her shoulders tense. "Promise me you'll be careful. The Griffins are powerful people." "I'll be invisible to them," Madison assured her. Just another server in the background. If only she knew how wrong she was. By 6:30 p.m., Madison had memorized the menu and mastered the art of appearing invisible while absorbing every detail. The Griffin party occupied the private dining room. Damien Griffin at the head of the table, his grandmother Eleanor seated to his right, and Olivia Wagner to his left. Christopher Banks, the family's longtime financial advisor, sat beside Eleanor, whispering in her ear occasionally. Madison's hands shook slightly as she poured water into Damien Griffin's glass. This man's family had destroyed her father, yet in person, he seemed less monster, more man. Dark circles shadowed intense eyes, and a certain rigidity in his posture suggested discomfort rather than arrogance. "The 09 Bordeaux," he requested without glancing up from his menu. "Right away, sir." Madison turned to leave. "Wait." His voice stopped her. When she turned back, those intense eyes were studying her with unexpected focus. "You're new." Madison's rehearsed smile faltered. "First day, sir." Something in his expression shifted. A flash of curiosity that made her stomach tighten. Eleanor Griffin looked up then, up. Her imperial gaze fixing on Madison with such intensity that Madison nearly dropped her tray. The elderly woman paled visibly, her hand clutching at a small pendant around her neck. "Grandmother." Damien noticed the reaction, turning from Madison to Eleanor with concern. "I'm fine," Eleanor snapped, composing herself with visible effort. "Just bring the wine." Madison retreated to the service area, heart hammering. She hadn't expected Eleanor Griffin to pay her any attention. Something in the woman's eyes had registered recognition. Impossible since they'd never met. When Madison returned with the wine, she felt Damien Griffin's attention follow her movements. As she poured his glass, he leaned slightly closer. "You cycled here, didn't you?" At her startled look, he added, "Windburned cheeks, helmet hair you tried to smooth down." Madison fought the heat rising to her face. 15 miles each way. "Sir, dedicated." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Or desperate." Perhaps both. The words slipped out before she could stop them. His expression shifted from casual interest to genuine curiosity. "You don't seem to belong here." His voice lowered. "But I'd like to know why." The room seemed to shrink around them. In that moment, Madison realized her carefully constructed plan had a fatal flaw. She had prepared to be invisible, forgettable, not to capture the attention of Damien Griffin himself. As she stepped back from the table, Eleanor's pendant slipped from her grasp, clicking open as it hit the table. Madison caught a glimpse of a photograph inside, a young woman with familiar features that made her breath catch. Before she could process what she'd seen, Olivia Wagner's hand closed possessively over Damien's arm, reclaiming his attention. "Darling, we were discussing the venue options." Madison retreated, her mind racing. Something wasn't right. Eleanor Griffin's reaction, Damien's interest, the photograph in the pendant. None of it aligned with her expectations. As she served the appetizers, Madison recommitted to her mission. The Griffin family had destroyed her father's reputation and driven him to death. No unexpected complications would deter her from uncovering the truth, even if that truth was beginning to seem far more complex than she had imagined. 2 weeks into her employment at the Golden Crown, Madison had established a routine. Each night after her shift, she would bike home, her legs burning with exhaustion, and meticulously record every detail she'd observed about the Griffins, their conversations, their habits, their weaknesses. "Damien takes his coffee black, 2 sugars, allergic to shellfish," she muttered, updating her notes by lamplight. Her small bedroom wall had transformed into an investigative board. Newspaper clippings, financial statements, and family photographs connected by red string at its center. Her father's suicide note, which she'd memorized but couldn't bring herself to believe. "I've made terrible mistakes. I can't face the consequences. Please forgive me." Madison rubbed her eyes. The handwriting matched her father's, but the sentiment didn't. Robert Warren had taught her that mistakes were opportunities for growth, not reasons to surrender. Her phone chimed with a message from Marcus. "Thursday shift. Griffin party confirmed. Don't be late." She'd served the Griffins twice more since her first day, each time. Damien's eyes had followed her with unsettling attention. While Eleanor Griffin watched her with an intensity that bordered on paranoia, Madison had begun positioning herself near the private dining room's serving station, straining to catch fragments of conversation. Increasing the offer is unnecessary, Christopher Banks had advised during their last dinner. Wagner Pharmaceuticals is hemorrhaging cash. They need this merger more than we do. Damien had seemed unconvinced. Olivia believes her father's research archives contain unrealized patents. If true, we're undervaluing their assets. Madison had filed this information away, another puzzle piece in the complex picture of Griffin Enterprises. Across town in the Griffin family estate, Eleanor Griffin sat in her study, surrounded by old photographs. Her arthritis-gnarled fingers traced the image of a young man, with Damien's strong jawline but a gentler expression. Julian, she whispered to the empty room. Her youngest son had been the family disappointment. Too soft for business, too passionate about art and the wrong kind of people. His death in a car accident 25 years ago had been a wound that never properly healed. Eleanor opened the pendant she always wore, studying the photograph inside. Julian's girlfriend. The resemblance to the new waitress was uncanny. The same determined set of the jaw, the same intelligent eyes. Could it be coincidence? A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in." Christopher Banks entered, his perpetual smile never quite reaching his eyes. For 40 years, he'd been the family's most trusted advisor, present for births, deaths, and every major business decision. "Eleanor, you're still up. I was concerned when you missed the board call." "I'm fine." She snapped the pendant closed. Just old memories surfacing. Christopher's gaze lingered on the photographs. "Julian, it's been 25 years. Some losses never fade." She studied her oldest friend's face. "Christopher, do you remember Julian's girlfriend? The secretary he was so infatuated with?" A flash of something, tension, perhaps, crossed Christopher's features before smoothing into practiced concern. "Vaguely, Judith, wasn't it? Why the sudden interest?" Eleanor hesitated. "No reason. Just an old woman's reminiscing." Christopher nodded, unconvinced. "Damien tells me Olivia is pressing for a summer wedding. This merger needs to proceed without complications. I'm well aware of what's at stake." Eleanor's tone ended the conversation. After Christopher left, Eleanor reopened the pendant. Something was happening. Too many ghosts stirring at once. The waitress, Damien's inexplicable interest in her, the approaching merger with the Wagners. Somehow, she sensed these threads connected in ways she couldn't yet see. Mai's kind in her penthouse apartment overlooking Lake Michigan. Olivia Wagner added another pushpin to her own investigative board, this one hidden behind a sliding painting in her home office, where Madison's board focused on Robert Warren and the Griffins. Olivia's tracked the Griffin family's acquisitions over 30 years, 25 years of planning, of maneuvering herself into position as the perfect merger partner, 25 years of nursing the rage that had ignited when her father drank himself to death after the Griffins stole his groundbreaking pharmaceutical formula. Her phone chimed with a text from Christopher Banks. "Damien distracted lately. Expedite wedding plans tomorrow, 2 p.m. Usual place." Olivia's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Christopher had been her unexpected ally for years, feeding her information about Griffin weaknesses, helping position Wagner Pharmaceuticals for this moment. Little did the Griffins know that the merger wasn't meant to save her company. It was designed to give her access to destroy theirs from within. Lately, though, Damien's attention had drifted. She'd noticed his eyes following that waitress. Madison, her name tag had read. A complication she hadn't anticipated. Time to refocus his priorities, she murmured, reaching for her phone to call the wedding planner. Damien Griffin shot upright in bed, sweat soaking his sheets. The nightmare again. Robert Warren slumped over his desk, but this time Warren had looked up with empty eyes and whispered, "You know the truth, Damien. You've always known." He fumbled for the light switch, chasing away the shadows. These dreams had plagued him for 5 years, intensifying recently. Perhaps it was the pressure of the Wagner merger, or his grandmother's increasing fragility, or the strange sense of recognition he'd felt upon seeing the new waitress at the Golden Crown. There was something in her eyes, a sharp intelligence, a barely concealed purpose. She reminded him of someone, though he couldn't place who. His phone lit up with a message from Olivia. "Secured Lakeside Gardens for the ceremony. June 15th. Press release tomorrow. Damien set the phone down without answering. The merger made perfect sense on paper. Wagner Pharmaceuticals' research paired with Griffin Enterprises' manufacturing and distribution network would create an unbeatable market position. The marriage was the cherry on top, a union of two business dynasties. So why did it feel like he was missing something crucial? He pulled out his laptop and navigated to the company's encrypted personnel files. Searching Robert Warren, he found the standard information: employment history, performance reviews, the police report from his suicide. Nothing that explained why Warren, a man of unwavering integrity, would suddenly embezzle funds and take his own life when caught. A new search occurred to him. He typed Madison Warren and waited. The results showed nothing in Griffin Enterprises' files, but a public records search revealed a connection that made his pulse quicken. Madison Warren, daughter of Robert and Judith Warren. Damien stared at the screen. The waitress wasn't just any server. She was Robert Warren's daughter. "What are you doing at the Golden Crown?" he whispered to the empty room. He remembered her determined expression, the way she strategically positioned herself to overhear conversations at the family table, her too careful neutrality when serving him. She was investigating her father's death, and somehow, Damien couldn't bring himself to stop her. Perhaps because deep down, he shared her suspicion that Robert Warren's suicide wasn't what it seemed. As dawn broke over Chicago, Damien made a decision. He wouldn't expose Madison Warren. Instead, he would watch her, perhaps even help her, because if she was searching for the truth about her father, that truth might also free him from the nightmares that had haunted him for 5 years. What he didn't realize was that by making this choice, he was setting in motion events that would unravel decades of carefully constructed lies. Lies that protected not just the Griffin legacy, but secrets that spanned 3 families and countless tragedies. The Griffin Enterprises archives occupied the entire basement level of their downtown headquarters, a climate-controlled labyrinth of financial records stretching back 3 generations. Madison had gained access using a borrowed maintenance keycard, courtesy of a sympathetic janitor whose daughter attended the same community college night classes as she did. 20 minutes, he'd warned. After that, security makes their rounds. Dressed in a gray custodial uniform, Madison moved efficiently between the towering shelves, her phone flashlight illuminating folder labels. She needed financial records from 5 years ago, specifically the weeks before her father's death. Her heart raced as she located the correct section and pulled the relevant files. Working quickly, she photographed pages of spreadsheets and transaction records, focusing on large transfers her father had flagged in his personal notes. A figure of $4.2 million caught her attention, transferred from Griffin Enterprises to an offshore account 3 days before her father's death. The authorization bore her father's signature, but something about it seemed off. The loop in the R was too pronounced, the stroke of the T too heavy. "I knew it," she whispered, photographing the document. Her father's signature had been forged as she returned the files to their proper location. Her flashlight beam caught a folder labeled Wagner Acquisition, Initial Proposal 1999. Curious about Olivia Wagner's company, Madison quickly photographed these documents too. Before slipping out of the archives, back in her apartment, Madison examined her findings. The Wagner documents contained proposals for purchasing pharmaceutical patents from Wagner Labs, followed by rejection letters from Aaron Wagner, Olivia's father. 6 months later, Griffin Enterprises had registered similar patents. "They stole his research," Madison murmured, adding this information to her wall. But how did it connect to her father's death 5 years ago? She focused on the suspicious $4.2 million transfer. The receiving account was registered to a shell company called Triton Holdings. Her father had circled this name in his hidden notes with a single question mark. Madison opened her laptop and began searching for connections between Triton Holdings and Griffin Enterprises. If she could prove the money transfer was fraudulent and her father had discovered it, she'd have a motive for his murder. Across town, Damien sat in his home office surrounded by financial reports. Since discovering Madison's identity, he'd been conducting his own investigation into Robert Warren's death, starting with a complete audit of company finances during that period. The numbers didn't add up. Griffin Enterprises had reported record profits the quarter of Warren's death, but Damien found discrepancies in the manufacturing costs versus output. Someone had been cooking the books, and his father's longtime CFO had somehow missed it or been party to it. His phone rang. "Olivia, you missed our tasting appointment," she said without preamble. The caterer waited an hour. Damien pinched the bridge of his nose. "I'm sorry, I got caught up in quarterly projections. This is the third wedding appointment you've missed this month." Her voice cooled further. "If I didn't know better, I'd think you were avoiding finalizing our plans." "That's not it." But even to his own ears, the denial sounded weak. After ending the call, Damien returned to the financial records. A $4.2 million discrepancy appeared in the international holding statement. The exact amount Warren had allegedly embezzled, but the transfer documentation was irregular. The authorization signature looked like Warren's, but as someone who'd worked with the man for years, Damien noticed subtle differences. He pulled out his phone and dialed the head of security. "I need the surveillance footage from the executive floor. 5 years ago, the week before Robert Warren's death. Sir, those archives are in deep storage." And Mr. Banks ordered most footage from that period deleted during the system upgrade last year. Damien's suspicion deepened. "Find what you can. Send it directly to me." He hung up and stared at Warren's signature. Something was very wrong here, and Christopher Banks' name kept surfacing at the edges of his investigation. In her private sitting room, Eleanor Griffin carefully removed a loose brick from the fireplace, revealing a small safe. Inside lay a bundle of letters tied with faded blue ribbon. Correspondence from her younger son Julian, written in the months before his death. With trembling fingers, she unfolded the last letter he'd ever sent. "Mother, by the time you read this, Judith and I will be far from Chicago. I know you'll never approve of our relationship, but I can't live the life you've planned for me. She's pregnant with my child, your grandchild. I love her, Mother, in a way I never thought possible. I've discovered something troubling in Father's acquisition records. There are irregularities in the Wagner-Patton's purchase. Christopher advised me to keep quiet, but I can't be party to fraud. I've left copies of the evidence with Robert Warren. He's the only executive I trust to handle this ethically. Perhaps someday you'll meet your grandchild and find it in your heart to accept the choices I've made. With love." Despite everything, Julian Eleanor wiped away tears. Julian had never gotten his chance at happiness. The car accident had claimed his life just days after this letter arrived. She'd tried to find Judith afterward, but the young secretary had disappeared, presumably heartbroken over Julian's death, or perhaps fearing the Griffin family's reaction to her pregnancy. For 25 years, Eleanor had wondered about the child, her grandchild now. With the appearance of Madison Warren at the Golden Crown, those dormant questions blazed back to life. Could Robert Warren have known Judith before Julian's death? Could he have been connected to her disappearance? And most disturbing of all, could the young waitress with the familiar eyes be Julian's daughter? Eleanor carefully returned the letters to their hiding place. She would need to tread carefully. Too many secrets lay buried in the past, and unearthing them carelessly could destroy what remained of her family. In a private booth at an exclusive club, Christopher Banks passed a manila envelope to Olivia Wagner. The final merger terms. Review them before the board meeting. Olivia skimmed the documents. The ownership structure gives Griffin controlling interest. Initially, Christopher smiled thinly. After the wedding, we'll implement the restructuring we discussed. Within a year, you'll have effective control of both companies. And Damien? Olivia asked, stirring her martini. Leave Damien to me. His recent distractions will pass. The waitress. Olivia's voice hardened. I've seen how he looks at her. Christopher's expression shifted subtly. What waitress? At the Golden Crown, Madison something. Christopher stilled. Madison Warren. You know her. I make it my business to know everyone in the Griffin's orbit. Christopher's tone was casual, but his knuckles whitened around his glass. She's no threat to our plans. After Olivia left, Christopher remained, his mind racing. Madison Warren working at the Golden Crown was no coincidence. If she was investigating her father's death, she might uncover threads that could lead back to him. He pulled out his phone and made a call. I need information on Madison Warren, full surveillance. And find out what she knows about her father's activities at Griffin Enterprises. Christopher had spent decades cultivating his position, manipulating the Griffins and Wagners like chess pieces. Robert Warren had nearly exposed him 5 years ago. He wouldn't allow the daughter to succeed where the father had failed. What Christopher didn't know was that 3 separate investigations were now converging. Madison's search for her father's killer, Damien's quest to understand the financial irregularities, and Eleanor's personal mission to confirm whether Madison might be her long-lost grandchild. The carefully constructed web of lies was beginning to unravel. Thread by thread, thunder rolled across Chicago's skyline as Madison locked her bicycle outside the Golden Crown. April storms had arrived with unexpected fury, soaking her uniform despite her raincoat. As she wrung water from her hair in the staff bathroom, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Storage room B. After your shift. Come alone." Madison stared at the message, pulse quickening. She'd been investigating for weeks without a breakthrough. Could this be a source or a trap? The Thursday night Griffin reservation proceeded as usual, but with subtle differences. Eleanor Griffin was absent, her place taken by Christopher Banks, who kept glancing at Madison with an expression she couldn't decipher. Damien seemed distracted, barely touching his food, while Olivia Wagner dominated the conversation with wedding plans. "The Gazette is running our engagement announcement Sunday," Olivia announced. "Loud enough for servers to hear. The photographer is ready whenever we are, darling." Damien nodded absently, his eyes meeting Madison's as she poured his water. Something passed between them, an unspoken communication, a shared understanding. When she placed his napkin, he slipped a folded note beneath it. Later, in the service corridor, Madison unfolded the paper. "My office, Griffin Tower, midnight. Security will expect you. 2 mysterious meetings in one night." Madison's instincts screamed caution, but her determination to uncover the truth was stronger. Her heart raced as she realized Damien Griffin, her prime suspect, was reaching out directly. Was he onto her investigation, or was this something else entirely? Olivia watched Damien from across the table, noting how his gaze followed the waitress. The same waitress Christopher had reacted to so strangely when she'd mentioned the name Warren. "She's pretty, isn't she?" Olivia remarked casually, sipping her wine. Damien's attention snapped back. "Who? The waitress you can't stop watching." "I wasn't—" "Please." Olivia's smile was glacial. "We're business partners first, Damien. I understand attraction. What concerns me is distraction when we're weeks away from the largest pharmaceutical merger in history." Christopher intervened smoothly. "Speaking of the merger, the final contracts require your signature, Damien. I've scheduled a meeting tomorrow morning." "I'll review them tonight," Damien replied. His tone clipped. Christopher's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then excused himself abruptly. "Business emergency, continue without me," as he left. Olivia placed her hand over Damien's. "I've moved up the engagement photo shoot to tomorrow afternoon. The Botanical Gardens, 3 o'clock. The possessiveness in her touch wasn't lost on Damien. Their engagement had always been a business arrangement. Old Chicago money meeting pharmaceutical innovation. But lately, Olivia's behavior suggested she expected more than a merger of companies. "I have meetings until 4, he said. "Reschedule them." She squeezed his hand, her diamond engagement ring catching the light. "Our partnership needs to be visible, Damien, especially now." The implied threat hung between them. Damien had never questioned why Olivia had agreed to the merger. Their company's compatibility seemed reason enough. Now, watching her calculate her next move, he wondered what other motivations drove his fiancée. At 11:45 p.m., Madison slipped out the restaurant's back entrance. Intending to head to Griffin Tower, the storage room message nagged at her, but Damien's invitation took priority. As she turned toward her bicycle, movement in the shadows caught her eye. "Ms. Warren." Christopher Banks emerged from beside a luxury sedan. "A moment of your time," Madison tensed in her investigation. Banks's name appeared frequently, always adjacent to suspicious transactions. "I was just leaving, Mr. Banks." "I know." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "That's why I waited. I believe we have mutual interests to discuss." Rain pelted them as they faced each other in the dim parking lot. Madison calculated her options. The restaurant was nearly empty. Her bicycle was locked, and the nearest bus stop was 2 blocks away. "I'm not sure what interests we would share," she said carefully. "Your father, Robert Warren, a brilliant man. His death was unfortunate." Madison's breath caught. "You knew my father." "I know a great deal, Ms. Warren." including why you're really working at the Golden Crown. Banks stepped closer. Your investigation is admirable but dangerous. There are forces at play beyond your understanding. Are you threatening me? Quite the opposite. I'm offering information. He extended a business card. Your father discovered irregularities in Griffin finances. Before he could report them, he was silenced. The same people are still in power. Madison took the card. Mind racing. Why are you telling me this? Let's just say I've developed a conscience in my older age. Banks glanced at his watch. Don't trust Damien Griffin. His family ordered your father's execution when he threatened to expose them. Before Madison could respond, Banks returned to his car. Call me when you're ready to discuss what your father really found. And Miss Warren, watch your back. The Griffins protect their own. As his car pulled away, Madison stood frozen in the rain, the business card clutched in her hand. Banks's warning contradicted her meeting with Damien, creating a dangerous fork in her investigation. Who was telling the truth? In his penthouse office, Damien prepared for Madison's arrival. He'd gathered the financial records that had triggered his suspicions, including the surveillance footage security had recovered, grainy video showing Christopher Banks entering Robert Warren's office the night before his death. A knock at his door startled him. It was only 11:30, too early for Madison. Come in. Olivia entered, dressed impeccably despite the late hour. Working late, Damien quickly closed the folder of evidence. Just reviewing merger documents. At your apartment with whiskey? She gestured to the 2 glasses he'd set out. I was about to call you, he improvised. I thought we should discuss tomorrow's photo shoot. Olivia moved around his desk, her perfume enveloping him as she leaned against the edge. I think we should discuss us, Damien. This arrangement has always been convenient for both our companies. But lately, you seem distant. She traced a finger along his jawline. Perhaps we need to become better acquainted before the wedding. Damien caught her hand. Olivia, don't. She withdrew her hand. You've been investigating something. Something you're not sharing with the board or with me, as your future wife and business partner. I have a right to know. It's a personal matter. Is it about the waitress? Olivia's voice hardened. Madison Warren isn't just any server, is she? I've done my homework. Daughter of Robert Warren, your former CFO who supposedly embezzled millions before committing suicide. Damien stood, creating distance between them. How did you... No, Christopher mentioned her name. I connected the dots. Olivia's eyes flashed. What are you playing at, Damien? Meeting the daughter of a disgraced executive who nearly brought down your company. Warren was framed, Damien said, the truth escaping before he could stop it. Silence fell between them. Olivia's expression shifted from anger to calculation. You have evidence. Damien hesitated, instinct warning him to be careful. I'm gathering it. I see. Olivia straightened her jacket. Well, don't let me interrupt your investigation. But remember, the merger announcement goes public next week. Any scandal involving your family's past could jeopardize everything we've worked for. She kissed his cheek, a businesslike gesture devoid of warmth. Good night, Damien. I'll see you at 3 tomorrow. After she left, Damien checked his security monitors. No sign of Madison Warren. He tried calling the restaurant, but no one answered. Outside, lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating the torrential downpour. Something had gone wrong. Either Madison had chosen not to come, or something, or someone, had prevented her arrival. Either way, Damien's plans to share what he'd discovered were now compromised, and with Olivia suspicious and Christopher Banks potentially involved in Warren's death, the danger had just increased exponentially. After her encounter with Christopher Banks, Madison decided against meeting Damien. Instead, she headed to Storage Room B, where her anonymous messenger had directed her. The rain had soaked through her uniform as she carefully made her way through the darkened restaurant. The storage room door stood slightly ajar. Madison hesitated, every crime show she'd ever watched screaming at her to turn back, but her father's memory pushed her forward. She nudged the door open. Hello? A figure emerged from behind shelves of wine bottles. Madison. Mom. Madison gaped at Judith Warren, dressed in the restaurant's administrative uniform. What are you doing here? How did you get in? I work here. Judith's voice was steady, but her hands trembled. 3 days a week in the back office, handling invoices. I've been here since before you applied. Madison struggled to process this revelation. You've been working here and never told me. You tried to talk me out of taking this job. Because I knew what you were really doing. Judith guided her daughter to a small table in the corner where employees took breaks. Your investigation. Your wall of evidence. I've seen it, Madison. You went through my things. Madison felt her world tilting sideways. Why are you here, Mom? What's going on? Judith took a deep breath. I saw you talking to Christopher Banks in the parking lot. Whatever he told you. He said the Griffins killed Dad. That Dad found financial irregularities and they silenced him. Banks is manipulating you. Judith's voice hardened. He's the one who threatened your father. He's the one who forged the evidence against him. Madison sat down heavily. How would you know that? Because I worked at Griffin Enterprises 25 years ago, as a secretary. Judith's eyes held a storm of emotions. There's something I should have told you long ago. Madison, something about your father, about who you really are. Madison's chest tightened. What are you talking about? Robert Warren wasn't your biological father. The words fell like stones between them. He was a good man who loved us both, who stepped in when I had no one else, but he wasn't the man who fathered you. Madison felt as if the floor had disappeared beneath her. Her whole life, her quest for justice, her identity, suddenly stood on unstable ground. Who? She managed to ask, her voice barely a whisper. Julian Griffin, Damien's uncle, Eleanor's youngest son. The room seemed to spin around Madison. Julian Griffin, a Griffin, the family she'd been investigating. The empire she'd blamed for destroying her father who wasn't her father. That's not possible. She shook her head violently. You're lying. Eleanor's reaction when she saw you at the restaurant. She recognized Julian in you. The shape of your eyes, your expressions. Judith reached for her daughter's hand, but Madison pulled away. Julian and I were in love. When I became pregnant, we planned to leave Chicago together, start a new life. What happened? Madison asked, still reeling. He died in a car accident before we could leave. I was heartbroken, terrified, alone with a baby coming and no way to support us. So you just found another man, used him. The bitterness in Madison's voice made Judith flinch. Robert was Julian's friend, the only executive Julian trusted with sensitive information about the company. After Julian died, Robert reached out to me. He'd always had feelings for me, and he offered to marry me, to raise you as his own. Thunder crashed outside, matching the storm in Madison's heart. Everything she'd believed about her life was unraveling. Why are you telling me this now after all these years? Judith's eyes filled with tears. Because you're in danger, Christopher Banks knows who you are. He's always known. What does that have to do with Robert's death? Julian discovered that Christopher was stealing research from Wagner Pharmaceuticals and selling it to Griffin Enterprises. He left evidence with Robert for safekeeping before he died years later when you were in college. Robert found more evidence of Christopher's ongoing fraud. When he threatened to expose him, Christopher framed him for embezzlement. Madison struggled to make sense of this tangled history. Why would Robert protect Christopher all those years if he knew he was corrupt? Judith's voice dropped to a whisper. To protect you? Christopher threatened to reveal your true parentage, to claim I had extorted the Griffin family with a false paternity claim. He said he would destroy both our lives if Robert didn't take the fall for the missing money. So Dad sacrificed himself. For us. The realization hit Madison like a physical blow. He didn't kill himself because he was guilty. He did it because he thought it would keep us safe. Judith nodded, tears streaming down her face. He left those hidden documents for you to find someday. He believed in you, in your brilliance. He knew eventually you'd uncover the truth. Madison thought of the Griffin family. Eleanor's strange reaction to her. Damien's inexplicable interest. Does Damien know that I'm his cousin? I don't think so. Eleanor might suspect. But she never acknowledged me after Julian died. The Griffins were obsessed with maintaining their reputation, their legacy. An illegitimate child with a secretary would have been scandalous. The pieces were falling into place. Why Eleanor had stared at her so intently. Why the photograph in the pendant had looked familiar. It had been her mother, 25 years younger. Christopher Banks has been manipulating everyone, Madison realized. The Griffins, the Wagners, us, for decades. He's built his wealth and power by playing families against each other. Judith reached again for Madison's hand, and this time, Madison didn't pull away. "I'm so sorry I kept this from you. I thought I was protecting you." Madison's mind raced with implications. Her investigation had been built on a false premise, yet had led her closer to the truth than she'd realized. "I need to talk to Damien. He invited me to his office tonight. But after Banks approached me, I didn't go. Be careful. Christopher has eyes everywhere. He's already suspicious that you're investigating Robert's death. It's not just about Robert anymore." Madison stood, a new determination hardening within her. "It's about Julian, both my fathers. What are you going to do? Continue the investigation?" But with the full truth now, Madison straightened her shoulders. Christopher Banks destroyed 3 families, the Griffins, the Wagners, and ours. He needs to be exposed. As they left the storage room, Madison noticed her mother's hand trembling. "Mom, how long have you known Christopher was behind all this?" Judith hesitated. "I suspected after Robert died, the suicide note. Some phrases weren't like him, but I had no proof until last month, when I found a thumb drive in an old book of Robert's. It contained transaction records, conversations he'd recorded. That's when I took the job here, watching, waiting to find the right moment to tell you." Outside, the storm had intensified, sheets of rain pounding against the windows. Madison felt equally tempestuous inside, grief for the father who'd raised her, confusion about her biological father, and rage toward the man who had engineered so much suffering. "I need to contact Damien," she said. "He might have evidence we need." "Can you trust him?" Judith asked. "He's a Griffin." "So am I, apparently." Madison's voice was steady despite the earthquake that had just rocked her identity, "and I think he's been having the same doubts about his family's history that I've had about mine." As they prepared to leave, Madison had one more question. "Does Eleanor Griffin know you work here?" "No. I've stayed in the back office whenever she visits, until today. I've managed to avoid the Griffins entirely." Madison nodded, absorbing this final piece of the puzzle. Her entire life had been built on carefully maintained separation from the Griffin family, a separation that her job at the Golden Crown had inadvertently shattered. Now, with her understanding of the past transformed, she faced an uncertain future. But one thing was clear. Christopher Banks would not escape justice for what he'd done to both her fathers. Damien paced his office, checking his watch for the 5th time. It was nearly 2 a.m., and Madison Warren had never arrived. His calls to the Golden Crown had gone unanswered, and now a gnawing concern grew in his stomach. Had Christopher somehow intercepted her? His secure phone line rang. Few people had this number. "Griffin? She knows." Eleanor's voice was taut with emotion. "The waitress. She's Julian's daughter." Damien sank into his chair. "What? How can you be sure?" "I had her investigated. Judith Warren was previously Judith Martinez, Julian's secretary, the woman he planned to leave with. The timeline fits perfectly." Eleanor paused. "And she looks exactly like him, Damien, those eyes. I should have seen it immediately." The revelation struck Damien like a physical blow. Madison Warren wasn't just Robert Warren's daughter. She was his cousin, a Griffin by blood, if not by name. Does she know her connection to us? "I don't know, but I need to speak with her. With them." Eleanor's voice softened. "Judith is still alive, Damien, all these years, I thought. I've been a fool, letting pride keep me from my own grandchild." Damien thought of the growing attraction he'd felt toward Madison, an attraction that now took on uncomfortable dimensions. "Grandmother, there's more you should know. I've been investigating Robert Warren's death. I don't believe he embezzled those funds or committed suicide." Silence stretched between them. Finally, Eleanor spoke, her voice heavy. "Christopher. It's always been Christopher, hasn't it? I have evidence suggesting he was involved. He visited Warren's office the night before his death, and the financial irregularities Julian discovered 25 years ago. They follow the same pattern. I need to see you. Tomorrow morning, before your engagement photos, there are things you should know about Christopher's history with our family." Eleanor hung up abruptly. Damien sat in the darkness of his office, recalibrating everything in light of this new information. Madison Warren, Madison Griffin really, was his cousin, and her adoptive father may have been murdered to protect secrets that stretched back decades. Secrets that implicated Christopher Banks, the man his family had trusted implicitly for generations. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Not at Griffin Tower, the Art Institute. South Garden, 7 a.m. Meow." That dawn, Madison sat on a bench in the Art Institute's garden, watching early joggers pass through Grant Park. She hadn't slept, her mind replaying the conversation with her mother over and over. Julian Griffin, her biological father, a man she'd never known, whose blood ran in her veins, whose family she'd blamed for destroying her life. The cosmic irony wasn't lost on her. She spotted Damien approaching, his tailored coat flapping in the morning breeze. Despite their similar heights and athletic builds, she hadn't noticed any family resemblance before. Now she couldn't help searching for shared features, perhaps the shape of their jaws, the set of their shoulders. "You didn't come last night," Damien said, sitting beside her. "I had a more important meeting." Madison studied his face. "With my mother." Something in her tone made Damien tense. "Madison!" "She told me everything. About Julian Griffin. About who I really am." She watched his expression carefully. "But you already knew, didn't you? That's why you've been watching me since my first day." "No." Damien shook his head firmly. "I only learned last night. I was interested in you because you're Robert Warren's daughter. And I never believed he was guilty of the crimes he supposedly committed." Madison's defenses lowered slightly. "You were investigating your own company. Just like you." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Though my methods were slightly more conventional. Breaking into corporate archives isn't conventional." "You did what?" Damien's eyebrows shot up. "Never mind. I don't want to know." For a moment, they sat in silence. Two investigators who had been circling the same mystery from opposite directions. "My mother says Christopher Banks threatened Robert. My father." Madison stumbled over the words. "Threatened to expose me as Julian's daughter if Robert revealed Christopher's financial crimes. That fits with what I've found." Damien pulled out his phone, showing her photos of documents. "Banks has been siphoning funds for decades, stealing research, manipulating records. When anyone gets close to discovering his schemes, they either leave the company under a cloud or die in accidents or suicides." Madison finished. "Like Julian and Robert." Damien nodded grimly. "And now he's orchestrating the merger with Wagner Pharmaceuticals, a merger sealed by my engagement to Olivia Wagner." Madison processed this. "Olivia? Does she know what Christopher's been doing?" "I'm not sure. Our engagement was arranged by our boards, ostensibly to strengthen the merger. But now I wonder if Banks engineered it for his own purposes. My mother mentioned something about Wagner research being stolen years ago. Aaron Wagner developed revolutionary formulas that were somehow acquired by Griffin Enterprises shortly before his company collapsed." Damien's expression darkened. "I've suspected industrial espionage, but could never prove it. Wagner drank himself to death afterward, leaving his daughter orphaned and bitter." Madison connected another dot. "Olivia's not just marrying you for business reasons. She's positioned herself for revenge." "Against the wrong target." Damien stood, suddenly restless. "We've all been manipulated. Griffins, Wagners, Warrens, for decades." Madison joined him, feeling the weight of generational tragedy on her shoulders. "What do we do now? Compare evidence, build a case no one can ignore." Damien checked his watch. "I need to meet my grandmother this morning. She wants to talk about you. About Judith." Madison tensed. "Eleanor Griffin has ignored our existence for 25 years. Why the sudden interest? She claims she didn't know you were alive, either of you, after Julian died. Judith disappeared. She was protecting herself, and me." Madison's loyalty to her mother flared. "The almighty Griffins weren't exactly welcoming to the pregnant secretary." Damien didn't argue. "Come with me to meet her. Bring Judith if she's willing. It's time we face this as a family." The word family hung between them, complicated, loaded with history and pain. Madison wasn't sure she was ready to claim the Griffin name. Yet the pull of answers, of connection to her biological father, was undeniable. "I need time to think, to talk to my mother." Madison hesitated. "And there's the issue of your fiancé. If Olivia suspects we're working together, won't she tell Christopher?" "Leave Olivia to me." Damien's jaw tightened. "I have a photo shoot with her this afternoon that I can't avoid. But afterward, I'm ending our engagement. The merger can proceed without the marriage, or not proceed at all, once Banks' manipulations come to light." As they parted ways, Madison felt a strange mixture of loss and relief. The attraction she'd been fighting made terrible sense now. A biological recognition, perhaps, of shared DNA. Whatever spark had been growing between them had to be permanently extinguished. "Damien," she called as he walked away. "Be careful. Christopher Banks has killed to protect his secrets before." He nodded, his eyes conveying understanding of the danger they both faced. That's in Raikadi in her penthouse apartment. Olivia Wagner reviewed the final merger documents Christopher had sent over, noting the subtle clause on page 37 that would give her controlling interest in Griffin Enterprises within 18 months of the marriage. Her phone chimed with a text from Christopher. "Meeting with MW this morning. Art Institute Garden. Observe only." Olivia's fingers tightened around her phone. Damien and the waitress. Meeting clandestinely before their engagement photos. The betrayal stung, even though her own motives for the engagement had nothing to do with love. She dialed Christopher. "What's this about Damien and the Warren girl? They're comparing notes on their investigations." Christopher's voice was tight. "It's time to accelerate our timeline. The merger doesn't finalize for 6 weeks. Not the merger, your other objective." Christopher paused. "The Griffin Empire was built on the ruins of your father's work. Remember that when your resolve wavers." After hanging up, Olivia stared at her reflection in the window, 25 floors above Chicago. Since childhood, she'd been raised on stories of Griffin treachery, how they'd stolen her father's research, driven him to alcoholism and death, left her an orphan dependent on distant relatives who reminded her daily of her fall from privilege. Her entire adult life had been dedicated to positioning herself for this revenge, earning her MBA, rebuilding Wagner Pharmaceuticals from its ruins, cultivating the perfect image as Damien Griffin's ideal partner. Now, with victory in sight, Damien was pulling away, drawn to Madison Warren, or Madison Griffin, as Christopher had revealed she truly was. Julian's illegitimate daughter, the Griffin family had a habit of destroying Wagner lives. Olivia would not allow history to repeat itself. Whether Damien knew it or not, their engagement photos would proceed as planned. The wedding, however, might need to be moved up considerably. The Griffin estate sprawled across 3 manicured acres in Chicago's North Shore, a Victorian mansion surrounded by gardens that had graced architectural magazines for decades. Madison stood at the wrought iron gates, her mother silent beside her. "We don't have to do this," Madison said, noting Judith's trembling hands. 25 years, Judith whispered. "I never thought I'd come back here." The gates swung open automatically, and they walked up the curved driveway. Madison had imagined this mansion many times while building her case against the Griffins. But the reality was both more imposing and more intimate than she'd pictured. Flowering trees lined the path, their blossoms creating a fragrant canopy. "Julian planted those," Judith said, her voice catching. "Cherry trees from Japan. He loved beautiful things." The front door opened before they reached it. Eleanor Griffin stood in the entryway, leaning on an ornate cane. Despite her 78 years, she maintained a regal posture, her silver hair swept into an elegant chignon, but her eyes, the same shape as Madison's, were red-rimmed with recent tears. "Judith," Eleanor's voice wavered. "After all this time." "Eleanor." Judith's greeting was cool but not hostile. The older woman's gaze shifted to Madison, traveling over her features with naked hunger. "You look so much like him." Madison felt exposed, as if Eleanor was cataloging every genetic contribution Julian had made to her existence. The woman before her was technically her grandmother, but felt like a stranger, one who had ignored her existence for 25 years. "Please come in." Eleanor stepped aside. "Damien is waiting in the library." As they followed Eleanor through the house, Madison absorbed details that hinted at Julian's presence. A painting style reminiscent of the art books she'd loved as a child. Photographs where a younger man with her eyes smiled beside a stern-faced patriarch. The library doors opened to reveal Damien pacing near floor-to-ceiling windows. He stopped when he saw them, his expression a complex mixture of emotions. "Thank you for coming," he approached, offering his hand first to Judith. "Mrs. Warren." "Ms. Martinez, actually," Judith corrected gently. "I kept Warren as our surname after Robert died, but legally changed back to my maiden name last year." Eleanor gestured to a seating area. "Please, sit. We have much to discuss." Once they were settled, an uncomfortable silence fell. Madison broke it directly. Why now? After 25 years? Why suddenly acknowledge us? Eleanor opened the locket she wore, the same one that had fallen open during that first dinner at the Golden Crown. Because of this, because when I saw you serving tables, it was like seeing a ghost, Julian's ghost. She passed the locket to Madison. Inside was a faded photograph of Judith, 25 years younger, smiling in a way Madison had rarely seen. I assumed, after Julian's accident, that you had terminated the pregnancy. Eleanor's voice was barely audible. You disappeared so completely. I was afraid, Judith admitted. After Julian died, Christopher Banks came to see me. He said the Griffin family would pursue legal action if I tried to claim any connection or support for my child, that they would destroy my reputation, claim I was extorting them. Eleanor's face hardened. Christopher told me you had left the city, wanted nothing to do with us, that you had made it clear the child wasn't Julian's. And you believed him. Judith's voice rose, without ever trying to find me yourself. I was wrong. Eleanor's admission hung in the air. My pride, my fear of scandal. I allowed Christopher to handle the situation, just as I'd allowed him to handle so many family matters over the decades. Madison processed this new information. So Christopher Banks has been manipulating all sides from the beginning, telling each of you what would keep you apart. Damien, who had been listening intently, leaned forward. The question is why? What does Banks gain from keeping our families fractured? Control, Eleanor said simply. With Julian gone, and you still young, Damien, Christopher consolidated his position as the family's most trusted advisor. If Julian's child had been acknowledged, if Judith had remained connected to us, his influence might have been diminished. There's more to it than that, Madison interjected. My investigations show Banks was stealing research from Wagner Pharmaceuticals and selling it to Griffin Enterprises, then skimming millions from the profits. When Julian discovered this, he left evidence with Robert Warren for safekeeping. Eleanor closed her eyes briefly. The accident. You think Julian's car crash wasn't an accident? Damien stated, watching his grandmother carefully. I've had suspicions for years, but no proof. Julian called me the day before he died, said he'd discovered something troubling about the Wagner acquisition, that he was bringing evidence. Eleanor's hands twisted in her lap. He never arrived. Judith covered her mouth, stifling a sob. He was coming to pick me up. We were going to leave Chicago together. Madison reached for her mother's hand, squeezing it supportively. And when Robert found additional evidence of Christopher's ongoing fraud years later, Christopher eliminated him too, Damien finished grimly, making it look like suicide. Eleanor rose shakily, moving to a hidden panel in the library wall. She returned with a stack of letters tied with blue ribbon. Julian's letters to me during that last year. I've kept them hidden because they contain his suspicions about Christopher, about the Wagner patents. I was afraid to act on them without proof. As they reviewed the letters together, Madison felt a strange connection forming, not just to the grandmother she'd never known, but to Julian himself. His handwriting was fluid, his thoughts clear and compassionate. In one letter, he wrote of his excitement about becoming a father, his plans for teaching his child about art and nature. Tears blurred Madison's vision. This was her biological father, not just a name or concept, but a real person who had wanted her, who had died trying to create a safe future for her and her mother. Christopher will be looking for us, Judith said suddenly. When Madison and I didn't come home last night, you're safe here, Eleanor assured her. I've replaced all security personnel with a private team. No one enters these grounds without my direct approval. Damien checked his watch. I need to go. The engagement photo shoot with Olivia. Cancel it, Eleanor said sharply. Under the circumstances, no. Damien's voice was firm. If I cancel, Christopher will know something's wrong. I need to maintain appearances while we gather the final evidence against him. Madison caught his eye. Be careful if Olivia is working with Christopher. I can handle Olivia. Damien's confidence sounded hollow even to his own ears. After he left, Eleanor turned to Judith. I know it's 25 years too late, but I want you to know, Julian loved you deeply, and I wish, her voice broke, I wish I had known my granddaughter. For the first time, Judith's expression softened. Julian spoke of you often. He said beneath your formidable exterior was a woman of great compassion. He hoped you would eventually accept us. Eleanor reached tentatively for Madison's hand. I know I have no right to ask, but I hope it's not too late to begin building some kind of relationship. Madison hesitated. This woman represented the family she'd blamed for years, yet Eleanor was also part of Julian. Had loved him, had preserved his memory and his letters. The complexity of her feelings mirrored the complexity of her newly discovered identity. I'm still processing everything, Madison admitted. Finding out Robert wasn't my biological father, that I'm a Griffin by blood, that the family I've been investigating is actually my family. You're a Warren too, Judith reminded her gently. Robert may not have been your biological father, but he loved you as his own. He died protecting you. Madison nodded, her heart full of conflicting emotions. I need time, but I'm willing to try. Eleanor smiled tremulously. That's all I can ask for. As they continued reviewing Julian's letters and comparing them with the evidence Madison and Damien had collected, a clear picture emerged. Christopher Banks had orchestrated a decades-long scheme of corporate theft and manipulation, eliminating anyone who threatened to expose him. What they didn't know was that at that very moment, Damien was walking into a carefully laid trap, one that Christopher and Olivia had been setting since the moment Madison Warren had appeared at the Golden Crown. The Chicago Botanical Gardens glass dome glittered under the afternoon sun as Damien arrived for the engagement photos. His mind remained at the Griffin estate, processing the revelations about Madison, Julian, and Christopher Banks's decades of manipulation. Olivia waited by a flowering cherry tree. Dressed in a fitted emerald dress that complemented her auburn hair, the photographer adjusted lighting equipment nearby. For a moment, Damien was struck by the parallel. Another cherry tree, another couple separated by tragedy. Julian and Judith's past seemed to echo into his present. You're late, Olivia said, but without real annoyance. She straightened his tie with practiced familiarity. Busy morning. Something in her tone made Damien pause. Board meetings, quarterly projections. She studied his face. Nothing to do with Madison Warren, or should I say Madison Griffin. Damien's blood ran cold. What are you talking about? Please. Olivia's smile didn't reach her eyes. Christopher told me everything. Julian's illegitimate daughter, raised by Robert Warren, your long-lost cousin suddenly appearing as a waitress. Quite the family drama. Damien maintained his composure with effort. When did Christopher tell you this? Does it matter? Olivia gestured to the photographer. We're ready to begin. As they posed beneath flowering branches, Damien's mind raced. Christopher knowing Madison's identity wasn't surprising, but sharing it with Olivia suggested their relationship was deeper than business advisor and client. The photographer directed them through a series of poses. Olivia playing the besotted fiancé with convincing skill. The Gazette wants a statement about our relationship, she murmured between poses. Something personal before the business announcement next week. Olivia, Damien kept his voice low. We need to talk about the engagement. Oh, her smile remained fixed for the camera. I think we should postpone the wedding, focus on the merger first, ensure it's truly beneficial for both companies. The photographer called for a break, moving to adjust lighting for the next setup. Olivia's expression hardened as soon as they were relatively alone. This isn't about the merger. It's about her. This is about Christopher Banks, Damien countered. About decades of financial manipulation and potentially 2 murders. Your father's research was stolen, Olivia, not by my family, but by Banks. Uncertainty flickered across her face. What are you talking about? Banks orchestrated the theft of your father's pharmaceutical patents, then let Griffin Enterprises take the blame while he profited from both sides. Damien watched her carefully. The same way he's manipulating this merger. Olivia stepped back. You have proof of this. We're assembling it now, Madison and I. Madison! Olivia laughed bitterly. Of course your cousin becomes the center of your world the moment she appears. This isn't about family connection. It's about justice. For your father, for Robert Warren, for Julian Griffin. Damien reached for her hand. Olivia, if you're working with Christopher, you need to know what he's capable of. Something shifted in Olivia's eyes. Doubt, perhaps. Before she could respond, her phone chimed with a text message. She glanced at it, then back at Damien with renewed coldness. The photographer needs another hour. I have a conference call I can't miss. We'll continue this discussion at the rehearsal dinner tomorrow night." As she walked away, Damien noticed she was typing rapidly on her phone, warning Christopher. Most likely their confrontation hadn't gone as planned. He'd hoped to end the engagement cleanly, but had instead revealed too much about their investigation. His own phone vibrated with a message from Madison. "Banks left the estate 20 minutes ago, heading to Wagner Pharmaceuticals. Be careful," Damien texted back. "Olivia knows who you are. Need to accelerate our timeline." As he headed toward his car, another text from Madison appeared. Eleanor found Julian's original research notes on Wagner patents. Definitive proof Banks was behind the theft. Meeting tonight? Golden Crown private room, 8 p.m. Damien tensed. The restaurant was too public, too connected to Banks. He started to type a warning when movement caught his peripheral vision. A security guard approaching with purposeful strides. "Mr. Griffin, your fiancée asked me to give you this before she left." The guard handed him an envelope. Inside was a single photograph. Madison and Judith entering the Griffin estate that morning. Scrawled across it in Olivia's handwriting, "Choosing family over future, unwise." The threat was clear. Damien's hand tightened around the photograph as he climbed into his car. The game had changed, and the danger had just increased exponentially. In Christopher Banks's office at Wagner Pharmaceuticals, Olivia paced like a caged tiger. He knows Christopher, about the patents, about Julian and Robert Warren. They have evidence. Banks remained unnervingly calm. What exactly did he say? That you orchestrated the theft of my father's research and let the Griffins take the blame, that you're manipulating the merger. She stopped pacing. Is it true? Damien is desperate. Banks deflected smoothly. He's developed feelings for his cousin, and is looking for any excuse to break your engagement. Don't patronize me. Olivia's voice hardened. I want the truth. Did you steal my father's research 25 years ago? Banks studied her for a long moment. Your father was brilliant but naive. He rejected fair offers for his patents, insisted on maintaining control. I simply redirected the inevitable. The formulas were going to market either way. The confirmation hit Olivia like a physical blow. You told me the Griffins stole his work directly. That Julian Griffin seduced information from his secretary who worked for my father. A simplified version for a grieving child. Banks shrugged. The important part was true. Griffin Enterprises profited enormously from your father's genius while he died penniless and forgotten. And I've spent my life pursuing revenge against the wrong people. Olivia sank into a chair. Decades of purpose suddenly hollow. Not the wrong people, Banks corrected. The Griffins knowingly used the stolen research. They built their pharmaceutical division on your father's foundation. Julian may have had second thoughts, but his father and brother were happy to profit. Olivia tried to reconcile this new information with 25 years of carefully nurtured hatred. Why tell me now? Because we're too close to success to let sentiment derail us. Banks handed her a tablet displaying security camera footage. Damien, Eleanor, and the Warrens are gathering evidence against me. Against us. They're meeting tonight at the Golden Crown to consolidate their findings. What do you mean? Against us, Olivia demanded. I knew nothing about Robert Warren's death or Julian's accident. But you've benefited from my guidance, from information I've provided. Your hands aren't entirely clean, Olivia. Banks's voice hardened. And the authorities won't appreciate the distinction when they learn you've been working with me to manipulate the Griffin merger. The threat was unmistakable. Olivia felt trapped, complicit in schemes deeper than she'd realized. What do you want me to do? She asked, hating the defeat in her voice. Banks smiled thinly. Nothing has changed. We proceed with the merger as planned. I'll handle the Warrens and any evidence they think they have. Handle them how? Alarm bells rang in Olivia's mind. Don't concern yourself with details. Banks checked his watch. Focus on keeping Damien committed to the engagement. The rehearsal dinner tomorrow is crucial. The entire business community will be watching. As Olivia left his office, her carefully constructed world was crumbling. She'd dedicated her life to avenging her father, only to discover she'd been a pawn in Christopher Banks' longer game. Now she was implicated in his schemes, with no clear path to extrication. Her phone chimed with a text from Damien. We need to talk. Not about us, about Banks. He killed your father just as surely as he killed mine. Olivia stared at the message. torn between decades of conditioned hatred toward the Griffins and the dawning realization that her true enemy had been beside her all along, guiding her revenge toward his own ends. At the Griffin estate, Madison helped Eleanor organize Julian's research notes and letters. The evidence against Banks was mounting. A paper trail of fraud, corporate espionage, and financial manipulation spanning 25 years. "This should be enough to bring to the authorities," Madison said, scanning a particularly damning document showing Banks' offshore accounts receiving funds directly tied to the stolen Wagner patents. Eleanor nodded grimly. "If we survive long enough to present it?" Judith entered the library, her expression grave. "Damien just called. The meeting at the Golden Crown isn't safe. Banks knows about it. We need another location." Madison's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Banks and Griffin merger documents contain forgeries. "I have originals proving his fraud. Meet me at Wagner Pharmaceuticals lab, 7 p.m. Come alone, ow." "Olivia Wagner," Madison murmured. "Why would she help us?" "It could be a trap," Judith warned. Madison considered the possibilities. "Or she's discovered Banks' manipulation and wants out either way. This could be our chance to get conclusive evidence." "It's too dangerous," Eleanor protested. "Let Damien handle Olivia. Damien's too recognizable. I can go in through the research side, blend in with the lab techs." Madison's mind was made up. If Olivia really has evidence that can bring down Banks, it's worth the risk. What Madison didn't share was her growing certainty that confronting Christopher Banks would require someone with nothing left to lose. Someone who had already lost 2 fathers to his machinations, as Julian Griffin's daughter, and Robert Warren's legacy. That responsibility felt increasingly like hers to bear. The rehearsal dinner for Damien and Olivia's wedding transformed the Golden Crown into a glittering showcase of Chicago's elite. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light over tables adorned with white orchids and gold-rimmed china. Business titans mingled with political power brokers, their conversations a careful dance of power and pretense. In the center of it all, Damien and Olivia performed their roles as the perfect couple, she laughing at appropriate moments, he placing his hand over hers for photographers. Only the tension in his jaw and the brittleness of her smile hinted at the truth. Christopher Banks circulated among guests, the consummate advisor who had guided both families toward this advantageous union. Few noticed how his gaze frequently swept the room, cataloging exits and movements. "She should be here by now," Damien murmured to Olivia when they had a moment alone. Their conversation at Wagner Pharmaceuticals the previous evening had changed everything. A reluctant alliance formed from shared betrayal. "Banks is watching us constantly," Olivia replied through her fixed smile. "Madison knows what to do." Damien nodded, his mind replaying the events of the past 24 hours. Madison's risky meeting with Olivia, the evidence they'd compiled against Banks, the carefully constructed plan that hinged on tonight's public confrontation. The maitre d' approached with practiced deference. "Mr. Griffin, your grandmother has arrived." Eleanor Griffin entered on the arm of a distinguished silver-haired man, her personal physician who accompanied her to rare public appearances. She wore midnight blue silk and a diamond necklace that had graced Griffin women for generations. Her entrance caused a momentary hush. The Griffin matriarch seldom left her estate these days. Banks moved immediately to greet her. "Eleanor, what a lovely surprise. We didn't expect you to attend the rehearsal. And miss my only grandson's celebration?" Eleanor's smile was glacial. "Nothing could keep me away," as Banks escorted Eleanor to her table. Damien caught the imperceptible nod from his grandmother. Phase 1 complete. Eleanor's presence, and the distraction it created, was proceeding as planned. At precisely 8:45 p.m., a commotion at the entrance drew attention. Madison Warren entered, dressed not in her waitress uniform but in an elegant burgundy gown. Beside her walked Judith Martinez, her resemblance to the young woman in Eleanor's locket unmistakable to anyone looking closely. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Who were these women? No one recognized. Why did the younger one look vaguely familiar? Christopher Banks froze mid-conversation, his composure slipping momentarily as he registered their presence. He recovered quickly, moving toward the new arrivals with a practiced smile. "Ms. Warren, what an unexpected pleasure. I wasn't aware you were invited." "I wasn't," Madison replied evenly. "But family occasions should include all family members, don't you agree?" Before Banks could respond, Eleanor's voice rang out, clear and commanding despite her age. Madison, Judith, please join me." The room fell silent as Eleanor Griffin, pinnacle of Chicago society, openly acknowledged these strangers. Banks remained frozen in place, calculation visible behind his eyes. Damien stepped forward, taking Madison's arm in a gesture of explicit support. "Allow me to introduce my cousin, Madison Griffin Warren, daughter of my late uncle Julian Griffin." The shocked murmurs that followed were exactly what they had hoped for. The public acknowledgement of Madison's parentage, delivered in front of hundreds of witnesses from Chicago's most influential circles, could not be undone. Christopher Banks recovered admirably, his smile never faltering. What a touching family reunion, though perhaps tonight isn't the appropriate venue for such personal revelations. "On the contrary," Olivia interjected, moving to stand beside Damien. "Tonight is about joining families. All family connections should be acknowledged." Banks's eyes narrowed imperceptibly at Olivia's betrayal. He glanced toward security personnel stationed near the exits. Men on his payroll, not the restaurant's regular staff. Eleanor rose shakily to her feet, commanding attention once more. "While we're acknowledging truths, there's something else Chicago's business community should know." She nodded to her physician, who distributed leather folders to key guests. Board members, journalists, regulatory officials. "These documents detail 2 decades of financial fraud orchestrated by Christopher Banks," Eleanor announced. "The theft of Aaron Wagner's pharmaceutical patents, the embezzlement blamed on Robert Warren, the systematic looting of both Griffin and Wagner corporate assets." Banks lunged toward the nearest folder, but its recipient, the SEC's regional director, pulled it away. "Fascinating reading, Mr. Banks. Perhaps we should discuss this downtown." "These are baseless accusations," Banks declared, but sweat beaded on his forehead. "Fabrications from a senile woman and disgruntled employees. The offshore accounts are quite real." Madison stepped forward, "as are the forged signatures and the recorded conversations with your financial partners." Banks glanced toward his security men, who began moving through the crowd. Damien positioned himself protectively before Madison and Eleanor. "It's over, Christopher," Damien said quietly. "Federal agents are already processing this evidence. There's nowhere to run." For a moment, the mask of cultured advisor slipped entirely, revealing the calculating criminal beneath. Banks' eyes darted around the room, assessing options, calculating odds. "You have no idea what you've done," he hissed. "The Griffins and Wagners have been enemies for decades. I've been the only thing preventing mutual destruction." "You engineered that enmity," Olivia countered. "You stole my father's research, let him drink himself to death believing the Griffins had robbed him, then spent 25 years grooming me for revenge. I gave you purpose," Banks snapped. "Without me, you'd be nothing, a forgotten orphan of a failed scientist." The cruelty of his words seemed to physically strike Olivia. She stepped back, colliding with a server who dropped a tray of champagne glasses. The shattering crystal momentarily diverted attention. In that instant, Banks shoved past shocked guests toward the kitchen exit. Damien moved to pursue him, but one of Banks' security men blocked his path. Madison, however, had anticipated this escape route. She slipped through a service door, cutting through the restaurant's back corridors to intercept Banks as he emerged near the staff entrance. Going somewhere, she stepped from the shadows, blocking his path. Banks stopped, breathing heavily. "Madison Warren, or Griffin, you've been a thorn in my side since your first day here. You killed my fathers." Madison's voice was steady, despite the adrenaline coursing through her. "Both of them. Julian was an accident," Banks shrugged. "Wrong place, wrong time, but Robert, he was a problem that needed solving just like you." He reached inside his jacket. Madison tensed, expecting a weapon, but Banks produced a USB drive instead. "Insurance policy. Enough evidence to destroy both families if anything happens to me." His confidence returned as he regained control of the situation. "Step aside, and this stays private." "I don't think so." Olivia's voice came from behind him. She stood in the corridor, her elegant gown incongruous in the utilitarian space. "That drive belongs to me." Banks laughed coldly. "Olivia, always so predictable in your hatred, do you think Damien will still want you when he learns you've been working with me for years?" "They already know," Olivia replied. "I told them everything last night." Banks's composure cracked. "You stupid girl. After everything I did for you, you used me." Olivia's voice trembled with rage. "You used my father's death, my grief, my need for justice. You twisted me into your weapon." Security commotion echoed from the main dining room. Banks glanced nervously over his shoulder, then back at the two women blocking his escape. "This isn't over," he warned, backing toward the emergency exit. "I still have connections you can't imagine. People who'll make you regret this night." He pushed the exit bar, but the door didn't open. Banks slammed against it repeatedly, panic rising in his face. "Emergency exits have been secured," Madison explained calmly. "The authorities want to speak with you, Mr. Banks." As if on cue, the service door opened, and Damien appeared with two federal agents. "Christopher Banks." One agent stepped forward. "You're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy." As the agents handcuffed Banks, he locked eyes with Madison. "Your fathers were weak, sentimental fools. That's why they lost." His gaze shifted to include Damien and Olivia. "Just like all of you will lose, this city runs on power, not justice." While the agents led Banks away, Damien turned to the three women, Madison, Olivia, and Eleanor, who had joined them in the corridor. "It's done," he said simply. Eleanor leaned heavily on her cane, the night's exertions taking their toll. "Not quite. We still have an announcement to make." They returned to the main dining room, where guests remained in shocked clusters, processing the evening's dramatic revelations. Eleanor took center stage once more, her voice carrying with surprising strength. "Ladies and gentlemen, the Griffin and Wagner families wish to announce that while the merger of our companies will proceed as planned, the engagement between Damien Griffin and Olivia Wagner has been mutually dissolved." She paused, allowing the announcement to register, then continued with dignity. "Additionally, I am pleased to formally acknowledge my granddaughter, Madison Griffin Warren, daughter of my late son Julian, as a rightful heir to the Griffin legacy." As applause tentatively filled the room, Madison felt the weight of generations shifting onto her shoulders, a legacy she'd never sought but could no longer deny. Beside her, Judith squeezed her hand in silent support. The night that had begun as a celebration of a false union had ended with truth finally prevailing, though at what cost, none of them yet fully understood. 6 months after Christopher Banks's arrest, the Golden Crown underwent a transformation. The restaurant that had once catered to Chicago's elite business class reopened with a new mission and name, the Warren Griffin Wagner Foundation. Where power brokers had once negotiated deals over expensive wine, researchers and entrepreneurs now collaborated at workstations. The private dining room where Madison had first served the Griffin family had become a conference center for reviewing patent applications from independent inventors. Madison stood in the center of the bustling main floor, watching staff prepare for the grand opening reception. Her bicycle, now a personal symbol of her journey, was mounted as an art piece in the entrance, a reminder that sometimes the longest journeys begin with the simplest modes of transportation. Nervous, Damien appeared beside her, clipboard in hand. "A little," Madison smiled. "It's one thing to plan a foundation in theory, another to actually launch it." Their relationship had evolved over the months, the initial attraction transforming into something different but equally meaningful. The discovery of their shared blood had redirected their connection into a deep family bond, both grateful to have found a cousin who understood the weight of the Griffin legacy. "The guest list is confirmed," Damien noted. "Board members from both companies, patent officials, the mayor, even Christopher's former associates, those who weren't indicted." Banks's criminal enterprise had proven extensive. The investigation had uncovered decades of fraud spanning multiple industries. With accomplices in regulatory agencies and competing firms, the trial had dominated business news for months, exposing the darker machinations beneath Chicago's corporate facade. "And Olivia?" Madison asked. "Confirmed this morning, she's bringing her legal team." Olivia Wagner had surprised everyone with her resilience after Banks's arrest. Rather than retreating from public view, she had cooperated fully with investigators, providing crucial evidence that expedited Banks' prosecution. While the scandal had initially threatened Wagner Pharmaceuticals, Olivia had engineered a remarkable corporate turnaround, refocusing the company on ethical research partnerships. Eleanor Griffin entered from the terrace doors, moving slowly but purposefully with her cane. At 79, she had stepped down as Griffin Enterprises chairperson, passing operational control to Damien while retaining her board seat. Her primary focus now was rebuilding relationships with her newfound family. "The terrace arrangements are complete," she announced. "Judith is supervising the final touches." Madison nodded, watching her mother through the windows as she directed staff on the placement of memorial plaques. 3 bronze markers commemorated the foundation's namesakes: Robert Warren, Julian Griffin, and Aaron Wagner, men whose lives and deaths had been manipulated by Christopher Banks, but whose legacies would now protect others from similar exploitation. "I wish they could see this," Madison said softly. Eleanor placed a gentle hand on her granddaughter's arm. "Julian would be so proud of you." Madison, as would Robert. The month since Banks's arrest had given Madison time to reconcile the complexities of her dual paternity: the biological father she'd never known, and the adoptive father who had sacrificed everything to protect her. Both were part of her identity now, complementary rather than contradictory. "The merger implementation team needs your signature on the final intellectual property transfers," Damien told Eleanor, offering her a folder. The Griffin-Wagner merger had proceeded as planned, but with significant modifications, instead of the hostile acquisition Banks had engineered. The new structure created a collaborative research partnership, while maintaining the distinct identities of both companies. As Eleanor reviewed the documents, Madison's phone chimed with a message from the Foundation's legal team. Banks's appeal denied, sentence upheld, 25 years. She showed the message to Damien, who nodded with grim satisfaction. Justice. Finally. Madison wasn't so certain. Banks's actions had destroyed lives that could never be recovered, altered family trajectories that could never be reset. The 25-year sentence, equal to the time he had manipulated their families, seemed simultaneously excessive and inadequate. "It's not about him anymore," she reminded Damien. "Today is about building something new from the ruins he left behind." The Foundation's mission was threefold: protecting independent inventors from corporate exploitation, providing legal support for whistleblowers exposing financial fraud, and offering scholarships to children who had lost parents to corporate malfeasance, a mission born directly from their shared trauma as afternoon faded toward evening. Guests began arriving for the opening reception. Madison retreated to her office, formerly the restaurant manager's space where she had once received work assignments, to collect herself before the speeches. A knock at her door revealed Olivia Wagner, elegant in a tailored charcoal suit, her auburn hair swept into a sophisticated chignon. "May I come in?" she asked, her confident public persona softened by uncertainty. Madison gestured to a chair. Their relationship remained complicated, united by Banks' betrayal, yet separated by the lingering shadows of family history. "The Foundation looks impressive," Olivia commented. "You've accomplished a lot in 6 months." "We had strong motivation," Madison replied. "And unexpected allies." Olivia acknowledged this with a slight nod. "I brought something I thought you should have." She placed a leather portfolio on the desk. "Aaron Wagner's original research journals, the ones Christopher helped steal from my father's lab." Madison opened the portfolio carefully. Inside were handwritten notes and formulas, the intellectual property that had triggered decades of manipulation and tragedy. "These belong in a museum," Madison said, turning pages reverently. "Actually, they belong to both our companies now, under the merger agreement." Olivia smiled faintly. "But I thought the Foundation should display them." A reminder of where all this began. Their conversation was interrupted by Judith appearing at the door. "Madison, they're ready for you on the terrace." Judith paused. Seeing Olivia, the two women regarded each other cautiously, both victims of Banks' manipulations, both still finding their way toward trust. "Ms. Wagner," Judith acknowledged, "your father's journals are truly remarkable. I've heard so much about his brilliance over the years." "Thank you," Olivia replied, genuine appreciation warming her voice. "That means a great deal." The terrace was transformed for the evening, soft lighting illuminating the gathered guests. As Madison took her place at the podium, she surveyed the crowd: corporate leaders, researchers, journalists, family, her family, in all its complicated configurations. 25 years ago, 3 men, Julian Griffin, Aaron Wagner, and Robert Warren, were connected by circumstances that would eventually lead to tragedy, Madison began. Each was brilliant in his own field. Each valued integrity above profit, and each was silenced for those values. She gestured toward the memorial plaques gleaming in the evening light. The foundation we launched today honors their legacy by protecting the principles they died defending, that innovation belongs to its creators, that financial systems should serve truth rather than power, and that family transcends bloodlines and boardrooms. As she continued her speech, Madison noticed a latecomer slipping through the crowd, a tall man with thoughtful eyes, carrying a leather messenger bag similar to the one she used to transport her investigation notes. He listened intently, occasionally making notes in a small journal. After the formal speeches and ribbon-cutting ceremony, guests mingled on the terrace. Madison circulated through the crowd, accepting congratulations and discussing the foundation's plans with potential donors. When she reached the refreshment table, the latecomer appeared beside her. "Impressive vision," he said, extending his hand. "Blake Rivers, intellectual property attorney. Madison Griffin Warren." They shook hands, his grip firm and direct. "I know," he smiled. "Your story has been somewhat public lately." "Somewhat," she acknowledged wryly. "I cycled here," he mentioned, nodding toward a sleek bicycle locked to a rack near her commemorative one, 15 miles from the north side. Madison couldn't help smiling at the echo of her own daily commute. "Dedicated or desperate? Environmentally conscious," he countered. "And I prefer thinking on wheels." Their conversation flowed easily through topics from patent law to favorite cycling routes. For the first time in months, Madison found herself engaging not as Julian Griffin's daughter or Robert Warren's legacy, but simply as herself. On the terrace's edge, Eleanor and Judith stood watching the younger generation. Time had softened the edges of their complicated history. Grief and shared purpose creating a tentative friendship where once only wariness existed. "They seem to be getting along well," Eleanor observed, nodding toward Madison and Blake. "She deserves some happiness," Judith replied. After everything, Eleanor clutched her ever-present locket, now containing photos of both Julian and Madison. "We all do, I think." As evening deepened, the Chicago skyline illuminated behind them. The same buildings that had witnessed decades of secrets and lies now standing witness to a new beginning, one built on transparency and shared purpose. Madison excused herself from Blake's company to join Damien and Olivia near the memorial plaques, the three of them standing together in a moment of silent acknowledgement. Three families, once set against each other by external manipulation, now aligned in common cause. The foundation they'd created wouldn't erase the past or heal all wounds. But as Madison looked between the bronze plaques and the vibrant gathering, she understood that sometimes the most powerful response to loss isn't vengeance but creation, building something that transforms tragedy into purpose, and strangers into family,